Welcome to the DegenCast. I'm your host, Meow Meow, and today with me are Defi Degen, what's up, and Ian.
Hello.
And before we start, smash that subscribe or follow button depending on where you're listening to us. And today's podcast is brought to you by Xband, the highest paid fixed APY on DeFi. So, it's been crazy week, lots.
It has. A few things happened.
A few.
Just a few.
A few. Yeah, just a few. It's like we pretend the Voyager problem never existed, right?
Before we talk about that, I have something important to tell everyone that we didn't talk about before this. So if you guys haven't seen the new Beavis and Butthead movie, you need to go watch that.
Oh, dude, I saw it. Oh my God.
It's great.
Certainly
It was funny. We're the same age. It takes you back to, when you were a teenager, doesn't it?
Oh, but did you have I had moments where I was like, this is what's been wrong with the world. Beavis and Butthead can go.
It was really, really funny. Some of the things that went on there were great. I don't want to ruin it for everybody that hasn't seen it, but
No, it was beautiful.
it was
I mean,
hilarious.
it stayed so true to the original Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah. And I loved how they tied it in with the original Beavis and Butthead. I thought they did a good job. I
They
saw two
really-
movies this summer. I saw Top Gun Maverick, which I thought was great. I mean, and I'm not a big movie guy. I just thought that was great. I thought
haven't
Beavis and Butthead was just as great.
Oh yeah. I mean, and here's the thing, and I think this was a mistake, but I let our two 9-year-olds watch with us. And so
Yeah,
like
there
I'm
are
kind
a
of
few things. Did they ask
Yeah,
like, what does it mean by we're gonna score? Score what?
that's exactly what they asked. They definitely asked, like, "Hey, what does scoring mean in this context?" Well, in like their language, but
The throwback, like when I heard Beavis, going on and on about fire. I mean, it was
remember, dude, he couldn't talk about fire for like the last 12 years of their existence. Remember?
yeah, it was great.
Yeah,
Everything about it was great.
Yeah, they went back to fire finally, and that was just such a great tie-in. I mean, I was just like, wow, No, I highly recommend everybody see that. I don't know why it's not getting marketed that well, but it's really worth seeing.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's probably going to be one of the best movies of the summer for sure.
Such movies doesn't need to be marketed because it's for a specific audience or kind of,
Well, and Mike Judge has always said that his movies don't get marketed properly, and that's why they always end up cult classics. And I think that his companies that release his movies always think we don't have to market them because they'll become
because of who he is.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at Office Space. That was
it had like no marketing.
3 or 4 years ago, 23 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that's still, I mean, it's relevant. Yeah. Today, he's never done anything that's bad. Everything he does is great.
But I guarantee you, if you ask 100 people who know Office Space, if they saw it at home or in theaters, none of them will say,
yeah. No, I had it on DVD. That was the first DVD I bought.
Sir, what kind of obsolete technology are you using?
Well, this was like 22 years ago.
Yeah,
23 years
this was
ago.
a quarter century ago,
Yeah. Which is crazy to think about that, right? I mean, the time difference between now and then was almost the same time difference between then and when we first walked on the moon. So
I know
it's pretty wild. I feel old now.
Yep.
Anyway,
But
I had to get that out of the way. Maybe we'll inspire some people to see that movie.
yeah, that's definitely a good topic. I'm glad you brought that up. And but going back to what we were going to talk about, Voyager. Like, what do you guys think? So, do you guys think they're gonna? I mean, for those who don't know, Voyager is currently pursuing alternative solutions to shore up their financial situation. Basically, they're in trouble. We don't know how bad they're in trouble. We don't know if they're completely insolvent. We don't know what the deal is yet. We'll probably know more on Tuesday. But What do you guys
Hold up.
think? Do you think? Yeah.
Degen, let me stop you here for a second, okay? I know a lot of people who are listening to us actually have no fucking clue what the Voyager is. So can you give a simple breakdown for such people?
So Voyager, as far as I'm aware, is it's basically a CeFi crypto project. So it's not DeFi, it's centralized, but they do some of the similar things that you would use a DeFi protocol for. Like you can stake crypto with them. I believe they have a crypto debit card, things like that. But apparently, the part I wasn't aware of, but that I am now, is that the money that people stake with them, they lend to other parties. And one thing that we're seeing, like with the implosion of Three Arrows Capital and Celsius and all these other things, is that apparently some of these CeFi companies loan customer funds out without requiring proper collateralization. So, and by the way, excuse me, I'm sick, so I probably sound like shit. But so anyways, yeah. So it's pretty reckless to lend out customer money without collateralization. And I'm sure that, they're looking at things like, well, this is a good company. They have a good reputation. They've been around for X amount of years. Everybody knows them. It'll never be a problem. But once the insolvency chain reaction begins, you can't stop it. And sometimes it takes down popular, well-respected companies. And I think that with Voyager, I think that's potentially the situation that they're in.
Well, were they popular and well respected? First off, I never
yeah.
heard of
Well, for me, everybody that I know who knows with them, or who knows them, or who has worked with them, it's been like a B2B type of deal. So they've done custody for like large customers. They've done
Yeah, well,
lending
that's
for large customers.
that's
They've done
interesting.
asset management.
So,
Asset
so
management.
if they're doing that for,
Huh?
go ahead,
Go,
Meow.
go ahead. Okay.
Okay, I was going to say if they're doing that for corporate treasuries, then that's a totally different deal, because that's a big void, right? That's been a need.
Well,
And
they're
I've talked
doing
about this
both.
before in the past. Right? If they're focused on corporate treasuries and they were, providing guarantees for companies that have regulatory requirements around their treasury, then that's a big deal. That's a really big deal. So they're in a lot. That's huge.
My understanding is they did both retail and a B2B treasury management. So, but I don't know. I'm not privy to like the inside details of their business structure. I suspect that as the news comes out more and more, we'll know a lot more about what their core operation really was, because oftentimes it's not what it looks like on the surface, as you know. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Hold up. What you said is collateral, right? In normal cases, right? Basically in crypto lending, for example, like DeFi loans and all this stuff, right? You have collateral to cover up your loss, basically.
Right.
And as far as I know from TradFi, traditional finance, they did something called circle jerking when they started to give money without collateral, or like, as a sign of goodwill, how they say, right?
You can borrow someone's capital to bolster your capital.
Well, so here's the thing. Typically in CeFi and DeFi lending, you have to deposit a certain amount of crypto assets that are worth a certain amount of USD in order to borrow USD. So let's say you want to borrow, $1 million in USD or USDT or USDC or whatever. Then you would have to deposit anywhere from 900,000 to $1.2 million worth of Bitcoin or something, depending on terms, of course. And then you get what you need. But
Okay.
what's happening here is there's wait. So there's I think what we're seeing here is that there's kind of this good old boys club where certain people don't need collateral to access their loans. And so take this because this is also related. So CoinFlex, the exchange CoinFlex, also this week they announced that Roger Ver owes them what, $42 million And the interesting part about that is if you read that news, Roger had an account that could not be liquidated, no matter how far he was below margin call. And the reason he had that account is because he was one of CoinFlex's primary investors. I did not personally realize that that was even possible, that you could have an account that is so high tiered that you can't get liquidated no matter how far below margin call you are. That's
Oh, yeah, certainly, totally nothing. You know, if everything, if something will go wrong, totally nothing gonna happen to the company who is lending the money. You know,
that's just insane. And of course, Roger is publicly saying that it's not true and that they owe him money. But I mean, it- I mean, that's what I would say too if I owed $47 million. I mean, so it's weird. But what we're seeing here is that certain people have had the ability to borrow funds without collateral that would be required for the rest of us. So it's almost like the same type of elitism that fucks up legacy financial markets. It's like Lehman Brothers can go borrow all this money without collateral, and then boom, they collapse, and the entire U.S. economy follows. I mean, how long are we going to put up with shit like this, where certain people are of a certain stature that they can access uh, loans that really don't make financial sense?
Yeah,
this is
it's
really corrupt.
it's a mess. I don't know that it's pure corruption, but it's probably disingenuous at a minimum.
Yeah, I'm not sure corruption's the right word, but definitely like a fucking good old boys club type of thing,
Right.
right? Where it's like I've got credit with you because I've known you for 20 years, but you're not even looking at my balance sheet.
Yeah. I borrowed something from you. Here's a really good example. I used to own some restaurants and I had a loan from a local bank for one of my restaurants. I paid it back. Most restaurants fail anyway. I don't know the numbers,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
90% or something. I paid it back. And when I went to build a house a few years ago, I wanted to borrow some money. I walked in, I was like, hey, I want to borrow like $500,000. He was like, okay, that was it. And it was good old boy because I paid back my previous loan.
Right.
He knew I had a relationship. Banking is all about relationships, like traditional
Well,
banking.
and
is about
I mean, it's like even if that guy says cool, I mean, the underwriter still got to approve it, of course. But yeah,
I would actually disagree on you with that because I tend to stick to the position of not taking any loans until it's like necessary, right? I'm trying to live loan-free life, which some people would say it's stupid, but you have to consider my background of being Russian. And, Russian banking system is a little bit different on that stuff. The banks actually don't like when you pay them early.
yeah. Oh no,
Here.
yeah. So
They-
here
they
it
don't
doesn't
like that
matter.
anywhere.
They can't care here in most
Well,
cases.
that's not true, Ian, because many mortgages have prepayment penalties.
It's not common.
That's actually super
small,
common.
small. No,
Okay. First of all, in my opinion, prepayment, like penalty, I would actually call it, right? It's a penalty, right?
Yeah.
It's a violation of consumers' right, in my opinion.
Well,
Like,
so
well, I don't know that I agree with that either. But
no, it's just a matter of terms.
yeah, but like to me, I paid early. You should to be guys happy because like you don't have any problems with me anymore. You can think about my credit score.
Well,
My
put yourself in a bank's perspective. Let's say that you're loaning people money, right? So you're depending on that extra interest payment each year. So you have now accounted for that and planned on it. And so when you get paid back early, you got to go find another person to loan the money to.
Wait, okay, come on. You don't need to find another person. They like everywhere, especially when it's
No, you do because trust me, at least here in the US, banks and lenders, like their portfolio relies on having a certain quality of borrower and a certain a, s- a certain revenue model based on purely interest.
Oh, so okay, you're telling me that banks actually interested of people not paying them so they can keep more fines. These people.
Well, they would rather you take the entire loan term to
Yeah,
pay them back.
pay it out over the term. Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, in some cases that's true. Now, right now, though, if you have a mortgage at 2.5%, they would probably rather you pay that off so they could lend that money out
absolutely. Right. Yeah.
at,
When
at
was the credit?
6% and their spread's bigger.
What's the interest rate, guys, you have?
I'm
Okay,
2.5, 2.75% on mine. So
But
that-
I mean, public. No, but right now, if you were to apply for a new mortgage, what is it now today? And you've got the daily rates like always pulled up.
yeah,
Okay,
get it right.
let me wait. Hold on. Let me give an example. Okay. So, for example, new iPhone comes out. I want to buy with my basically in a loan, right? Like with a banking,
Yeah.
or how it's called. Yeah. So, how much the percentage I need to pay more?
So
Well,
okay,
consumer lending is a lot different too. So
yeah.
there's two types of lending: secured and unsecured, and that's an unsecured loan essentially,
Yep.
which is
Yeah.
generally more expensive. So I have
Okay. How much?
what we'd call good
How much?
credit, and it's like a credit card is. I think the interest rate on a credit card maybe 15 or 20%. It's expensive.
Well, no, I mean, I've got credit cards that are low, like
How low
four
do
and
they?
a
I
half.
have no. I honestly have no idea where they're.
Well, I've got 4.5, but after 1
They can
year,
go
that's
up,
gonna
right?
go up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's gonna go up, and then I'm gonna switch companies, and but that's the way I do it. But
You want to
but
you want to keep
Meow. What?
just no just I just want you to guys to understand maybe because the difference of background is 40 to 50%.
For a credit card?
Yes.
Okay, so what about a mortgage? I think it's like what, 10%?
No, it's actually higher. You have to understand that the how it's called.
I thought Russia
But
just cut the base mortgage rate down to like 10% though.
no, because the percentage what central bank gives loans is high. Fuck, I forgot the English word for that.
Well, relative to here. So right now,
Right.
mortgage rates have dropped as of right now. They've plummeted to 5.5%. But a couple of weeks ago, they were at 6.25%. But that's an average blended rate, right? So of new application approval rates. What you see is for first time home buyers, they're not generally well qualified. So
No.
what you're probably seeing is you're seeing people that are approaching 7%.
Right. Yeah. And
And now they're at 6.5 or something like that.
well, and like you're at what, 2.8 or 2.5? I'm
2.75. Yeah.
I'm at
People are
3.2. So I mean,
people in Russia people pay 12% in Russia for a mortgage for house.
yeah, here's the thing though.
That's what my
Here's the
first
thing.
one was. Years ago, that's how much they were.
Oh yeah, my first mortgage was absolutely in thick. But so okay, Meow. So going back to what you were saying about borrowing money, right? People look at the cost of borrowing money wrong because people need to look at the cost of borrowing money.
Yep. I
Number
agree with
one.
what you're going to say.
Okay,
I can read your mind.
so like, okay, if it costs me 8% to borrow money, but inflation is at 15%, then it costs me 15% to hold on to cash. So why wouldn't I borrow money? Like I should invest that
Yeah.
cash and then borrow the money.
That's logical. That's logic. But you have to consider again one more thing about the Russia. The indexation of salary isn't that great, and it never covers up the inflation rates. It's
Right.
actually basically what's happening is people getting into the endless loop, and they started to get into fees, right?
Yep.
Their accounts getting arrested, and that's like a big problem in Russia, right? Therefore, in my opinion, I prefer to leave loan free because considering that I have no clue what's going to happen tomorrow in Russia, and considering current situation, I was completely right, you know.
I mean, I don't necessarily. So my grandpa, he was like that. He wouldn't buy anything unless he could pay 100% cash for it. And I mean, I understand that, but he was also the type of person that would keep a large amount of cash on hand, which is just stupid. If
Yeah.
like, dude, if you have inflation above 10%, you're losing 10% uh, of the cash value every year. So if you hold on to that cash for 10 years, it's worth zero compared to where it was.
No,
You
because
know what I mean?
yeah, right. But so here's something before we move on to the next topic, something for you guys to think about. DGen, I know you and I talk about this a whole bunch. We've talked about this before. Uh, Interesting thing to consider is right now, if you look at purchasing power for a certain amount of money in terms of like a loan payment, let's take $2,000 a month on a mortgage as an example. 2 years ago, you had about $200,000 more in purchasing power on a 30-year note than you do today in terms of what your monthly payment would be, principal and interest, amortized over 30 years. So if you were going to go build a house or buy a house or whatever for $300,000 right now, you could have that for the exact same payment. Everything else is equal. Same payment, $300,000 now. If you had done it 2 years ago, right when COVID was getting really bad, everybody was really scared of everything, all that stuff, you would have got a $500,000 house. So the reality is, though, if you look at that take into account housing price appreciation and inflation, it's probably more like double that. I would be willing to bet. It's wild.
There's also, like, if you look at it on like a long time scale, though, once the interest rates go up and settle wherever they're going to settle, and then prices, of course, will come down. That's what they do. Like, the real estate market is really stagnant right now ever since rates started going up. So,
well, in some places, you got to remember, though, that on the coasts and the high cost of living areas,
I know, I live in one.
Yeah, few and far, maybe not selling as hot as they were a month or two ago. And I know you know a lot about real estate, but imagine that you've got 10% of those people selling and willing to move out of state to a low cost living area. So right now, the benefactors of this is the low cost living people. Where in my area, which is probably an upper low end cost of living area, would be how maybe not middle of the road, but just somewhere about average, national average, a little under it. We're benefiting from it. The market's still hot here because of cash buyers.
Oh yeah, and like I fully agree, but my point was, though, that once it becomes a buyer's market fully, and it will, but it's going to take probably 1 to 2 years of stagnation first. But once it flips back to a full on buyer's market, the prices will drop enough to even out what the interest rates increase to.
Yeah, they have to. I mean, something has to give. You can't have both really low interest rates and really low prices. You're going to have low rates, high prices, or high rates and lower prices.
Right. Exactly.
Because it was what to balance itself.
Yeah.
You basically still go through the median.
Well, it's the market, right? The market can't support it. And if salaries and income do not rise proportionally to or relatively to cost of living, then this is exactly the market for probably something we can go talk. Let's give me a segue into the next thing. Okay, inflation is ridiculous. So we were talking about inflation and how that ties into or is a good tie-in with our previous topic to this next topic. But inflation and something's got to give, right? Prices have to keep, salaries have to keep up. People have to be able to survive. Like, I've made a lot of observations. Like, if you go eat fast food, I go into my office maybe 2 or 3 days a week, something like that. And when I'd go in once a week, I would get McDonald's for breakfast because I love McDonald's breakfast. It used to be like $5.50. Well, now the same thing, which is just like it's like a biscuit and a hash brown and like a drink. It's like $8. And so
you've seen the cheeseburger index, right?
Well, do you know what what needs to happen is the manufacturers and the people that make all these hamburgers and stuff. They do the right thing and cut the prices. This is a global.
No, but here's the thing, man. So you're approaching this from a perspective that it's not on purpose, and what I mean by that is not like on some conspiracy level type of shit. But what I'm saying is that like what was it 8 months ago? Jerome Powell of the U.S. Fed. I mean, he announced it. He said it.
This is hilarious.
Yeah, he said it I mean, he made it very clear. He's like, we're going to combat inflation by reducing demand, retail demand. And I think most people did not understand what that means.
No, they don't understand what that means.
What that means is we're going to increase interest rates, which we know have this effect where all the
cost of capital is going up.
Yes. And so what that does is it gives people less money to spend and less money to invest. And that's how they combat inflation. So in that sense, everything being harder on you right now, everything costing you more is by design.
Oh, no question. But is it like $8 for breakfast more or whatever? And honestly, for me, it doesn't make a huge difference. If I could afford $3 extra or whatever, there's a lot of people that can't. And I feel bad for those people that can't.
Hold up.
But that brings us to a good point, right?
Like, hold up. 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. The question is, right? If people have too much money on their hands, right? The only way how you can make less money on their hands, therefore reduce the inflation, right, is to make the national currency weaker.
Right. Yeah. And that's called exporting inflation.
Well, so that's not the only way.
It's really the best way.
I mean, there's a line to
government.
From an economic standpoint, there's a balance of finding, how do you get companies to continue to invest and to continue to try to grow the economy and grow their businesses,
right?
Versus rates being too high, so they're just going to clamp down on all their cash and earn the interest instead.
Well, so there's supposed to be a happy medium there, but the problem is that in the first sign of instability, companies just stop spending, and then people stop spending, and it really has this negative effect, and that actually brings up a good next topic, which is Joe Biden came out and told gas station operators to lower gas prices, and now I don't know
what you joke about the hamburger people need to do the right thing and lower the price of hamburgers.
Well, the thing is, like, the vast majority, and I don't know the exact statistic, but the vast majority of gas stations, maybe not the vast majority, but a large portion of gas stations in this country are run by like family operated.
Oh, yeah. Well, and it's not that gas is, I think, a loss leader, right? We ought to ask Will. He would know.
Like what is it? A couple pennies a gallon?
Yeah, if that. I mean, they break even and they try to get people in to buy a Coke or a candy bar or something.
Exactly. So where do we come off asking what about oil companies? Wait. What about government gas taxes? Why don't we cut those?
Oh, yeah.
Well, they talk about the federal gas tax holiday. What? I don't know what that
didn't go anywhere.
They just like reduce the price for like 30 cents. That's all.
Well, I did buy something interesting. The other day, I filled up my tractor with diesel for under $5 the other day. It was like $4.60. So, I mean, it really has dropped. Now, I don't know if that was just the place I was at or in general, but it dropped 50 cents recently. I don't know why.
And they fluctuate. Hold up. Remind me the price of the diesel or even gasoline, right? Pre-pandemic.
Oh, okay. Well, let me tell you right now, and I can post a picture of this in chat. April of 2020, I was filling up. We have an SUV. I was filling up our SUV at the gas station. I filled it up for $16. Gas was 98 cents a gallon. And here in the States, it's 98 and 9/10 cents. So it's really 99 cents a gallon at that point. So pre-pandemic, it was probably about 2.25, something like that.
Yeah.
Pandemic, everybody panicked and people stopped going places. People stopped spending money. To your point, Degen, when things get bad, people clamp down. People do it, not just companies. People do that.
Oh yeah, everyone. Yeah,
and everything got cheap because people were scared. So,
Well, and that, I mean,
it's-
honestly, that was
it's
kind of
twice.
fun. Like, I mean, I bought
But if
clothes
you were
from
prepared,
them.
yeah. I mean, I built a house now. I built a house. It cost me 40 or 50% more, maybe more than that, maybe 60 or 70% more now to build it. But I was prepared and I did it at a time that was right for me. And it just happened to work out.
Yeah.
Hold up. One more question. And people actually don't understand that when the gas prices are high, you actually in risk of getting into feedback loop. Because how you deliver gasoline to the gas station.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
With,
Yeah. You just spiral out of control, I guess.
Well, exactly. It's a feedback loop. Right?
But that's really the least of the concerns. I mean, honestly, the truth is, like, we have
Least
this
Hold
problem.
up.
No,
Sir,
here,
sir,
wait.
sir.
Let me explain why.
Wait. No. Let me explain you one thing. Logistics are taking almost 10% or even more than 10% of the price of 1 gallon. So
I understand that, but you're missing, like, that's small in terms of the things affecting gas prices. Like, what about the fact that Biden, when he ran for president, said on day one, I will shut down drilling for fossil fuels. Like, and he stuck by that.
To make those blanket statements like that for anybody. Yeah, those types of blanket statements are dangerous for anyone and any party, and we all know that. I think that was a pretty. I mean, it was pandering to his voter base that would appreciate.
He did it. He
Yeah, sure, he did. It can still be pandering. I mean, he did it for the votes. I mean, to his credit, he did what he said he was going to do.
But if he really wants gas prices to go down, why doesn't he just reverse those decisions?
Don't know. It's a really good question. I mean, and it's not immediate. I think the problem I have too is the expectation that businesses should just operate out of the goodness of their hearts. Now, a lot of businesses do. Yeah. A lot of businesses do give back. I mean, I work for a company that did very much so.
I don't think any
way gives back above and beyond what anybody could.
There's real companies in the world that gets credit for what they give back as much as they should. Trust me.
Yeah, no, I do agree, and I think that it's pretty bold of him to ask for them just to operate out of the goodness of their heart. One, they have a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders. So what happens?
He wasn't even talking to oil companies. He's talking to individual.
Yeah, but I think if we read into it a little bit more, he's talking about the oil companies. He told them. He just said the other day what they had, record profits. You need to lower your prices. He said that a week or two ago, whenever.
Yeah,
and he was talking to everybody. But what about they have?
I felt like the oil company said no, and so now he's turning to gas station operators saying, "Well, can you help instead?" And it's like these people are broke. Like if you
he has no idea how it works.
Yeah, if you know anybody that owns a gas station, like they're not wealthy, I guarantee.
The gas station down the street from my house was run. It's like 2.5 miles away. Was run by a Vietnam vet, disabled, in a wheelchair, doesn't have a leg. He shut it down a month ago.
Yeah,
he couldn't now. But
it's one of the hardest
anyway
in this country.
Yeah, retail business is tough, man. It's really, really tough.
Yeah,
I would never do it again, ever. But you couldn't pay me enough to go do it. But no, I think it's. What I wonder is, I mean, they have a legal fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders to do what's best and to make money for their business, for the publicly traded companies, the oil companies.
Yeah.
So, what is the expectation there? Like that they ignore that?
No,
they just start ignoring that when it's convenient.
I think they need to ignore the president of the United States of America.
Yeah, but what's he think? I mean, can we just ignore things when it's convenient for a current situation? I don't know. I think the whole thing was really misguided. And
do you think his request is genuine, or do you think he's trying to get the media to blame certain people?
Well, he's certainly trying to get. There's some pandering again going on to his base, so a lot of people that he would be speaking to would agree with him. And we all, I mean, admit it or not, we all agree with the premise that we got to do something. And maybe that's what he's saying. If I were to give him the benefit of the doubt, which I probably would, I would say that's probably what he's saying. He's trying to say, guys, we have somebody, please help. I don't know what to do. Somebody help me. But he said it. He said it wrong. He
Well,
said it wrong.
and Ian, like we've had this talk before, but like when you and I, because you and I are multiple, like we've owned multiple businesses in, like we're kind of old. Like we've ran businesses, we've owned businesses, we've done retail,
Yeah,
we've done
we hustle. Yeah.
yeah. But like when you talk to people that are just like salaried employees,
Oh, don't even get me started with that.
like they have a
Don't get me
whole
started.
warped viewpoint on exactly what we do and how much we fuck
Zero.
everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, zero understanding. They think that as a business owner, you're not entitled to profit. Or they think that, hey,
on our yachts and just
yeah,
living the
think-
life.
right. They'll think, look, if your business, if you made, if all, your highest paid employee is 100,000 and you made $2 million last year, they have no clue what went into that. They have no
they
clue the
always
many
look at
millions
the
of
growth.
dollars you've had. Yeah, the many
They
millions
always
of
look at the
dollars
growth,
you've
not your
saved.
net. Yeah.
Oh, it's really frustrating. And that's one thing that I wish more people understood was there's a lot of risk involved. It's not easy to run a business.
No, it
It's
sucks.
very
I mean,
time consuming.
and
Yeah, it's
so my stepdad used to tell me this fucking anecdote, and it's bullshit. I've looked it up. It didn't really happen, but it's a popular urban legend, right? And he said that when J.C. Penney, who started Penny's department store, when he was applying for his business loan to start Penny's, it's like he had like 19 failed businesses in his past. And so he went in, he applied for a loan, blah, 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 blah. And the banker, the underwriter, whoever said, you have 19 failed business ventures. Why should we loan you money? And he said, because I know 19 ways to not do business now. And like, I love that. And it's a bullshit fake ass story, but I love its purpose. Like I love what it means and what it represents. And that's true. Like all of us
Yeah.
who have owned businesses, we have multiple failures under our belt. Like you can't, I mean, even if you got out in profit, there's a lot of businesses you will consider a failure because it didn't do what you thought it was going to do, or it did, but you learned. And
That's what Thomas said. That quote's a Thomas Edison quote. He, like when he was trying to invent the light bulb, he's like, he was trying to figure out like what kind of filament to use or something like that.
yeah,
He tried
it's been
1,000
attributed
things
to a
that-
million different people.
Yeah, I know 1,000 things that won't work. Like I didn't fail. I just know what not to do 1,000 times over.
But I mean, it's failures that make you better at this. But you have to be willing to take the risk of having a failure, experiencing a failure.
Yeah.
Have a
And on top of that, it's going to be, you have to at some point earn back all those failed attempts too. So
yes.
people just don't understand. I mean, it costs a lot of money, and money's not easy to. I mean, it's work for a reason. You gotta work.
And when
for
you
it.
get money, like even if you and like our society has a way of like shitting on people that are like, oh well, he got a loan from his dad, like Trump or whatever, right? Like people talk about that all the time, like, oh, because he got a loan from his dad. How nice of him. But that's still a liability on his books. And you think that loan was interest free? No, I highly doubt it. And so people don't understand, like, oh, he was able to borrow. Well, yeah, that's a liability. Like,
Yeah, well, and frankly, yeah. I completely agree, 100% agree.
okay. One second. Do you guys actually think that this loan he took was collateralized?
Well, it doesn't matter.
probably.
I think that's besides the point.
No. You get
actually
listen. Let me tell you, you get the worst fucking terms from family.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
That's what I'm
probably
saying.
because you don't collateralize it, though. I would say no.
Even if you do, even if you don't,
Yeah.
like, even if you do, family's gonna always be like, well, because family knows you better than anybody else.
Yeah.
And so they're gonna be like, look, I know the shit you've done that these other people don't know. I want a couple extra points on that money, So yeah,
Okay.
I think that it was collateralized. Yeah,
Collateralize, though.
Hold up. You actually will guarantee get this money back no matter what. The thing is, it's like a life lesson. The family is trying to give you a life lesson. Not all the time you will get the best conditions ever.
I think family is actually less likely to get paid back because
Yeah.
people who borrow
No,
People
sir,
who borrow
that's
from
my
family.
time.
Well, but people who borrow from family, they're like, "Oh, I'm on hard times. My dad, he'll understand. I'll just try to explain it to him." And so I think that in most cases, people that loan to family know that and are actually bigger hard asses than commercial lenders are.
Honestly, you know what my dad's gonna say me? Go find a fucking job, you kiddo.
Yeah.
Go get a job. Well, we have one more topic to talk about, right? And it's not about the pre-Eros capital. It's about the science, which I really like, and about Higgs boson.
So there's certain news. This what the fuck is that thing called? The
Large Hadron Collider.
Thank you. Um People are worried, right? Everybody's kind of concerned. Like, what's the potential downsides of operating this thing? What things can happen? And I think the thing that we need to think about, and I think the thing that we need to discuss on episode 4 is, what if we've already entered the alternate universe?